Hi, welcome everyone.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, we're happy to have you guys all here again tonight at Magical Witchy World TV. I am Star Ravenhawk.
And I am Rhonda Allen. So happy that you all could be back and joining us tonight. Tonight, we are very proud to welcome Nikki Kirby, Miss Nikki, and Saul Ravencraft. We are going to first, they're the hosts of Manifestasia. And just as a reminder, we wanted to share this with you.
All right, that was lovely.
Hello.
Hey there. Welcome, Miss Nikki.
Hello.
Welcome,
How are
Nikki.
you?
How are you? We're waiting for your partner in crime to join us, but as soon as he gets here, we will bring him on board live. Before we actually,
Okay.
oh, here he is. I think he's here. So let's go ahead and bring in Saul. Welcome, Saul.
Yay! Welcome, Saul.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi there.
There he is.
Hey
Awesome.
there. Hello to both of you. Thank you both so
Yes.
much for joining us here tonight on Magical Witchy World TV. Before we actually get into our Q&A with you, I wanted to go ahead and give a little tiny bit. I will share with one bio and Star will share the other bio. So I'm starting off with you, Miss Nikki. A little bit of background so everybody knows who you are. Miss Nikki is the leader in several communities, is a business founder and owner of Moonlight Potions and Charms, Magical Mist Entertainment, and operates as a magical life coach. She is a reverend clergy member to several pagan traditions, including the High Phoenix of Ever Moving We Rise and a High Priestess of Hecate. She is the founder and head phoenix or priestess of the Ever Moving We Rise, an organization dedicated to the authentic self. Miss Nikki is the executive producer and host of the podcast web series Witch Hat Chats, a show for pagans by pagans. Her magic background consists of European, American South Appalachian, Native American, and Asian magic with hoodoo, root work, and family ancestry. So, welcome,
All
Miss Nikki.
right. Yes,
thank
welcome to the show.
you.
All right. And with Saul, again, very happy to have Saul join us. Saul Ravencraft has been interested in the paranormal since he was a child. He read Chariot of the Gods in the fifth grade. Wow. Saul is a chaos magician, drawing upon eclectic lore and traditions. He regularly invokes candle magic, tarot, palmistry, numerology, sigils, and other disciplines. He works with people to discover their own power and take control of their lives through the occult knowledge. Saul does workshops, tours, and is a fascinating speaker for events. He also provides paranormal entertainment, which is aimed at mundanes, featuring intuition, games, and theatrical exploration of occult lore and concepts. So, again, Saul, welcome to the show tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So glad to have you both here. And we wanted to kind of do a follow up tonight on the event Manifestasia that you guys just did last weekend. We were proud to be presenters at that show, both Rhonda and myself.
Yes.
And that was held last weekend. And we wanted to kind of follow up on that and let people know about it more so that next year, people, we started to do commercials for them that you sponsored. And we wanted to have people kind of get to know you guys a bit and what you're all about and what Manifestasia is all about.
Well, we
Absolutely.
appreciate you bringing us here. Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely, absolutely.
so
Yes.
let's go ahead and get right down to let's go back to basics and go right back to the beginning. Why
Mhm.
manifestation? Why did you create it? What is this all about?
Well, manifestasia basically is about manifest manifesting your own power. Since the pandemic, a lot of people were feeling that they are powerless. We were coming into that phase where I was hearing a lot of people saying, well, I believe in magic and I do magic, but I don't believe magic. And I'm like,
Mm,
what? Here and you you go through the motions, and then you say, oh, I don't believe in my own magic. Excuse me?
Yeah.
You're already messing yourself up,
Right.
and right, and then they would say, well, I need a spell book, or I need to go online and find a spell or something like that. I'm like, honey, you don't need the perfect herbs, and you don't need the perfect altar, and you don't need all of that. You just need yourself. It's all you really need, and you just need your brain to be able to create that stuff. And so I was telling, well, with Witch Chats, which is our podcast, we're telling people that you yourself. So let's see if we can get a good bit of the people that we do interviews with, and let's get them all together and see if they can be able to inspire these people to be able to manifest their life's dreams. Because all you got to do is be able to do that. But it takes more than saying a little spell. Be able to, you have to do more than handle and go on about. You have to do the follow through and forth. And the people that we had gotten together knows, they know what they're doing. They've been in the business for years and years. They've done their research. They've done the experience, so forth. And we wanted to get people together that's actually has done that.
Excellent.
And so if you have somebody, if you've had somebody who's actually been where that person has been, and they say, hey, listen, I've been where you've been. This is what I've done too. And that's where manifestation actually started. Because
Excellent.
it's, and have fun with it. It's like with magic. Magic's meant to be fun. It's not meant to have a wand up your butt. Okay.
Well said.
You got something.
That's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Right. Having in ritual with some of these people, and they have to have everything absolutely perfect. And
just
one day
Ritual never goes perfect. We know that.
Right. And if it doesn't go perfect, like, oh no, we got to do it again. And
right.
No. To have fun and enjoy the magic that you're doing.
Excellent.
It's so bad. And so when I was thinking about Manifestasia, the name, I was thinking about Disney's version, Fantasia.
I kind of wondered about that
we
part.
Have off of, and then I was thinking about what was it? True Blood, when you had Fantasia. What about Manifestasia? Because you're trying to manifest what you want in your life. So
excellent.
And then I called my good friend, Sister Witch, who lives just an hour from me, Byron Ballard, and I said, could you do me a favor? And she's like, what? And we started to talk about the manifestations. But when do you want to do this? And it just started to roll from there.
That is fabulous. Thank you. That is fabulous. Good history. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of ask about the diversity of the speakers that you have at Manifestation. If you can kind of elaborate a bit about that for us, that'd be great.
And can I bring Saul over here? I'm going to jump over here, pull him in.
Yeah, there you
come
go.
on, Saul.
Well, I basically work behind the scenes to make everything go. Nikki's the one who actually has the connections. I just follow up with you on email and send you the links. But we generally agree that you can't do things in a bubble. It's got to be active connection with people, and I've enjoyed the different kinds of people that I've connected with through doing Witch Hat Chats. I'm not the same as everyone who is on our program, and they seem to be okay with that. That has not always been the case in my world. As you heard in my introduction, I do some weird stuff, and some people are very unkind about those who are curious about other things and interested in other things and bold enough to try other things. And that's been true since I was a little kid. And you'd think at this point in adulthood, all that would go away, that all that would stop. But I know that both of you know that there can be some real extreme childishness that comes up. And it's just monkeys flinging poo instead of trying to get to actual problem solving and getting along. And so when we talk about different ways of manifesting, we need more than one point of view. I mean, Nikki and I are very different in how we approach things. And sometimes that does create a little bit of conflict because we have a different perspective on things, but we respect each other. And so even in those places where we can be a little stressed that someone doesn't see things our own way, our respect allows that to come to some sort of a conclusion, some sort of a solution. And ultimately, we usually figure out that we're talking about the same thing. We're actually doing the same thing, but we use different words, we use different perspectives, and we always kiss and make up at the end. Because stuff's got to get done, and we can't just sit around being butthurt about things when we need to lock arms and get stuff done. And that's been terrific. And I feel like the same way that she and I deal with our own diversity, we encounter everybody else who's involved the same way, and hope that people involved in Witch Hat Chats and involved in Manifestasia to any degree realize that your answer may come from anything, from anyone. And you shouldn't overlook things. You shouldn't be arrogant. You shouldn't prejudge it.
Well said. Well said.
Well,
Very well said. Hal, if you would, and I'll jump back to Miss Nikki for this question, can you tell us a little bit about this year's focus of Manifestasia?
Well, last year there was social justice, especially with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Personally, that really really hard. I just couldn't believe that actually happened. And when that happened, I heard our ancestors literally screaming,
wailing.
And I just heard that, and I couldn't believe it myself. And I've heard so many people saying, what can we do about that? Is there anything we can do about that? Well, let's go marching. Okay, well, you can go march. That's good. You can go and you can protest. And of course, Saul and on Witch Hat Chats, we talk about voting. Go out, vote. You got to be able to help put this into policy and so forth. But nobody talked about the magic that you have to be able to do as well. So when it comes to social justice, any type of social justice, whether it is for the big issues or it's for your little issues of social justice, you have to be able to do magic. And Hoodoo talks a lot about social justice magic. There's small little books that I have several of those talking about social justice magic, about these little things that you can be able to do to be able to help with that social justice altars that people actually have, especially those that practice hoodoo and a lot of African American religions. They have altars devoted just to social. I wanted that to be able to be into where you're not just a victim, so you can be able to do something magically instead of just testing or just able to write your senator or just do one. You can do something magic and be able to help that process in
Well
addition.
done.
It's that's part of manifesting. When you want to manifest something, you got to have that plan. And when you have that plan, it's up here. All your magic starts up here. And it starts with what I call the little witch. The little witch has that idea. And when that idea comes, it has to be processed. And the magic comes from the little witch. And when that process comes, you have to sit here and think, okay, I want to help. For example, you have a friend who is unjustly being prosecuted by police for some reason. Well, how can I help that person? What can I do to be able to help? We've got to be able to help that person with the judge. We've got to be able to help that person, this and that. How can I be able to do that? Do I need handles? Do I need to know the judge's name? Do I need to know the prosecutor's name? What, all those kind of things. What can I do?
Yeah.
Do this and that. Those kind
You
of
had
things.
some great classes
Because
this
not
weekend.
everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And, that was one of the workshops that we had.
Indeed.
Water. We had a workshop about how to do the water. We had a workshop on Mama Brigade when I
Yes.
did. What are with you when you're trying to do all kinds of stuff. It's just different things. And I wanted to be able to bring different types of not only spiritual beliefs, but also different types of races into it as well. Because when I was on the West Coast, it was all kinds of different spiritualities. It was all kinds of different races and ethnic groups that were blending it together. Since I've been on this coast, when I came back home to take care of my mother, one color, one spirituality. Every place, every festival I've gone to, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I want
We
the
need something.
diversity.
It feels
And
odd,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It does feel
It
odd.
does.
yeah.
It doesn't feel right to me.
That
So
brings us to
that's the
another.
reason why.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, honey. Go ahead. What
Oh,
you
Yeah,
I
I,
was
what
I
just
were you
going
didn't
to
hear
saying?
you, Rhonda.
I was just going to say that brings us to, it leads us into another question that we had, which was, what are you seeing in the community right now, specifically around social justice, that you would encourage and like to see more of, and perhaps things that you would like to see less of? And for example, perhaps seeing more diversity in the events that are going on.
Yeah.
Well, with the events, I would like to see more of Native American spiritualities, the African American spiritualities, the ones that people don't talk about a lot, the Asian spiritualities. I would like to be able to hear about those because on the East Coast, I don't see that much about them, especially the ones like I've been to. I'm not going to name them, but That's the ones
You
I
mean the
like
West
to be
Coast,
able to
right?
see.
Which coast? I'm sorry, Nikki, because I think the East Coast.
The East Coast
Yeah. Okay.
that I
Got it.
went to. Okay, because the West Coast,
Mhm.
we were able to go see those, and it was like, ooh, awesome! I loved it because I went down through the things. I'm like, oh my god! And there were so many classes, and then I come to the East Coast, and the classes that I want to go to, and it's like, no,
They don't exist.
I'm
They're
going to
just not
somebody
Yeah,
else's
available.
opinion,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I wonder
Right.
sometimes if you could not find a way to kind of let them know. Can you bring it a little bit more diversity for us to see something? Because they kind of, by not sharing everyone's perspective or being as diverse, they're kind of losing something in the translation with things with people in general. Because magic is supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be all about that inclusive thing, but
Yeah.
huh, it can be difficult sometimes getting the people out of certain traditions to kind of open up and share. It has been can be difficult sometimes. So you never know.
Right. Right. And I know that that can be hard sometimes because there are some traditions that do not want to
Share.
open up and to teach. And I can
Yeah.
understand and respect that. But it's just one of those things that I believe in. I mean, with my ever moving we rise, we believe in sharing knowledge. We even encourage our members to go out and become members of other organizations so they can show us their um, their matter from their other
Mhm.
side, so we can be able to learn.
Right.
That's what I want. I want to be able to learn and to share because everybody's spirituality is their own
Person.
personal, yeah, personal
Absolutely.
Well said.
Absolutely.
journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the amazing things that I noticed with your live event is that your the live interaction in real time with the attendees. I think that's fantastic. So if you can kind of give us a little bit of information about that, or just share how you thought about doing that.
Well, that's a lot of thing with Saul and also with the speakers. The speakers are what really they came up with it. They're like, we do interact more with our attendees
Right.
because the thing about it is a lot of times when they're actually at the in person, they
Mhm.
don't get to really sit down and respond.
Right.
Where people during the classes
Right.
because you got this amount of time to be able to get all that information in, and then afterwards you got to go to another or you got to go to lunch.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, like that. So that's the reason why I decided, or when I talked about it, and we decided to open up the speakers lounge, and that's the reason why we said, okay, after your event, we're going to throw you in the speakers lounge.
Which was a great
I stay
opportunity
in the
for
speakers
attendees.
lounge
Yeah.
for a short
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. They have an opportunity to
Have
interact
to
with the
stay. We're
person
Yeah.
going to
they
put you
just
That was
in the
attended a
great.
speakers
class
Yeah.
lounge.
with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's
Right.
a great opportunity,
There,
and for
so
Yeah.
any
you're
attendee,
your little
that's a
box.
benefit.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
something all events, whether online, should have. And I mean, I know in person, um, a lot of us have, like at Witches Fest, we have the pagan panel where we
Mhm.
have the presenters there, and we try to ask questions and get the attendees to kind of get to know them a bit from their perspectives on certain topics. So I mean, they try in person, but like you said, it's kind of difficult. So in
Yeah.
online, if you're having it, I think that's something that should be added to a lot of online work events.
Yes. And just to acknowledge, I am going through and check out the chats. Thank you and hello to everyone who is joining us and saying hello to us.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us here tonight. Just to get back to, so Miss Nikki and Saul, what do you guys have coming up next? What kind of classes or projects are you working on now that Manifestasia is done? We'll see it again next year. But what events do you have coming up next? Maybe I can start with Saul on this one.
Sure. Well, I mean, for us, beating the Witch Hat Chats drum is continuous. I'm actually in the process of uploading everything for this Sunday's broadcast and getting all that done. There's a lot of stuff that comes together for that. For me personally, I do have an online class that I am doing that is on the power of myth. That was a series of 6 conversations that happened between Joseph Campbell and journalist Bill Moyers. And Joseph Campbell made a very, very deep study into mythology and how mythology connects with humanity. And George Lucas actually consulted with Joseph Campbell when writing Star Wars to make the mythology something that was tangible, that was
Fabulous.
real, not just a silly story, but something. And there's a reason why people consider themselves Jedi, and they're not joking. They mean it. They've gained
They're
something
very
from
serious.
it. Right. And it is a truth. And so this series of conversations did a lot for me on helping me to let go of my judgment. When you saw how much things were replicated in different cultures and different times, it was really difficult to do the us versus them sort of thing. And Campbell very specifically talks about that and what the purposes of these stories are and what the variety of them are and the patterns that we need as humans to be successful. And it made a big difference to me. And I've had a few people that I think need to take this journey. So we're going to watch an episode virtually, and then we will have discussion about it, just like you would in a classroom, and lead others on this journey. I know what I've taken from it, so I'll certainly have some things to share there. But I find in these, the group dynamic always brings other things. Now, that's not available through SaulRavencraft.com because that's a little more muggle facing in some way.
Right.
But if you go to palaceofoccultism.com,
Right.
you will find that there. And
Maybe we can pop that in the chat.
I would love people here.
If you can
Yeah.
repeat that again too, that would be great.
Yeah, it's palaceofoccultism.com.
Okay.
And I didn't think I was going to be talking about that, so I didn't give you the link.
That's going to be great. I binged those episodes way back many years ago, and that it's a fabulous series. So that looks like great work. Thank you for sharing that. Raven,
Oh, you
Nikki,
bet.
do you have and Miss Nikki?
Anything coming
What
up
about
with
your
that?
classes? Do you have coming up? What do you have? What projects and classes?
Well, I'm going to be speaking at several different festivals coming up. The first one I'm speaking at will probably be in April, and that's going to be at the Spring Mysteries Festival. That's the one I'm going to be doing that one at online. And of course, Miss Star, I'm going to be speaking, which is the Witches Fest, USA.
Yes.
Because Star is always bugging me. You need to submit something to me. You need to submit something to me now. Right now, Nikki. Right now, Nikki. Right now.
Well done.
I
That's
do that
right.
with everyone because I'm like, I don't have the time,
Yep.
Right. And of course, with Ever Moving We Rise, this Sunday, we're actually doing the transformation of Bridget ritual for Imbolc, talking about the 3 aspects of Bridget. And anybody is invited to our Facebook for Ever Moving We Rise. They can be able to see that as well.
Perfect.
And then I'm also working on a book to be able to write that. And we're dealing with shadow work. We're also going to be talking about probably about my surgery and how it has really has changed my life. It's changed me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's changed
Yeah.
everything that has gone on. And I'm going to be coming up with some classes later on this year. There's going
You're
to be a lot of
staying busy.
things.
You're staying
Yep.
busy. That's a beautiful thing. A question in the chat. Let's see. Can either of your guests give an example of manifesting something immediately after spell work? And I know we're short on time, but if either one of you have a story about that, that would be great.
Yeah.
And thank you for that
Well, and
question.
apparently
And
our,
that
our
would be the
questioner is
last
short
question
on
because
time
we
too.
don't have time yet.
Needs to have that magic happen now. I'll be honest. That is not typically the way things work. It's not like ordering a pizza. And one of the biggest things, because remember, I got involved in this stuff to prove it wasn't true and went way down the rabbit hole. So you be careful what you wish for. But one of the things that I had to learn was, my understanding of how magic was supposed to be was on Bewitched and Harry Potter and all that kind of stuff, right? And I know how that works. When you cast a spell, I don't know, your mileage may vary, but nothing glowy happens for me typically. Right. It's just kind of like, okay, it is done. And what I discovered was that magic really works more like a coincidence. Most often. Everything just kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
And all of my desire for the special effects were disappointed. But as you tune into this, you do have things that happen as a direct answer. The phone call will come. The shift will happen. But mostly it's about tuning into your vibration with what's going on.
That's true.
And trusting and following through. And for me, that's the way it's been. You got to act like your magic is working.
Yes. Well said. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
you for that.
Yep. It's not like you can just cast that money spell and the doorbell is going to ring and boom, there it is.
It's not the Big Mac fix. It's just not.
Right. It's not like
but,
that.
Sometimes things happen, but it's still not the Big Mac fix. But, this is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, if we're just about at the bottom of the hour here, and we're going to have to wrap up quickly. But we wanted to thank you both so much. We are so honored and privileged to have you both here tonight with us. We are happy, beyond happy, that you'll be joining us with our Witchy World panel. We have the first date, February 10th, and then again on the 17th. So thank you both for joining us for those discussions. And thank you for making time tonight.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I think it's only Nikki coming. I don't know if Saul would be interested in something like that, or
well, at least
like but I know Nikki's coming.
Awesome. Well then, Nikki, thank you for coming. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We
and
still
have
love you, Saul.
Night.
We always love you.
Yes,
Saul.
we always love Saul. But I know I can almost hear Saul saying, "That's not my thing. I'm not going to be able to do that." So I'm already hearing it in my head with Saul. So I'm like, okay, let's just.
I'll find something to do.
Fine.
So I'll clarify that. Okay.
Well,
so again,
thank you both for joining us tonight.
And we will see you again next time and on February 10th and 17th. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that was great. I'm happy we had them both in tonight.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah. And I'm going to actually put you on the spot for a second, Miss Star. We have Witches Fest USA, 12th year happening this year. So I
Oh,
just
right. Yes,
wanted to
yes,
say
yes.
before we jump into astrology and tarot time, which we're going to cut short a little bit because we're running out of time, I just wanted to say we really need to just remind people of the event that's coming up that you put into creation. You built this 12 years ago now, and we have now
Yes. Oh
the
my gosh.
virtual 2-day event, Friday, Sunday, still with the original live in person in Astor Place event on Saturday. And this year, what are our dates? Do
Yes.
you have those dates in front of you? I'm going to pull them
I
up.
have the dates, but you're putting me on the spot, and I didn't pull it
Yeah, I
up
did.
right away.
That's
But
all right. It's
this
fine.
year, we only have a Friday night. We have it Friday night at 8 p.m. where we're beginning on Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday in person on Astor Place, and then
Mm-hmm.
Sunday all day with online workshops. So we hope you can join
That's
us
right.
this year, whether it's live in person on Astor Place or
Or
online with all the different
virtual.
workshops that we're going to have and the great presenters
Yes.
and all the beautiful attendees that we usually have. You guys are all wonderful. So it would be nice to see you guys all there.
And our
So go to Witches Fest USA .org. I forgot that for a minute there, right? Didn't I?
how many years? 12 years now?
So it's Witches Fest, WITCH, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, EST, USA.org. And help
Yeah.
yourself. Go look at things
Yeah.
and see if you can join us.
We'll see you then. That will be July 7th, 8th, and 9th,
Yes, there you go.
2023.
See?
Yes. So right now we have to now take a look at the stars. 1 second. We'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So we are back, and we wanted to kind of do a follow up to let you guys know different perspectives, and different things regarding the March 7th Saturn in Pisces. So we're going to kind of go down and give you different perspectives of history, like recent history of that transit that we considered one of the most important transits of the year. When Saturn enters Pisces on March 7th. So we're going to kind of give you a bit of history on it, and kind of explore the archetypes and a bit of history of what has occurred when Saturn enters Pisces. So the events that has played out, some of it has been religious, political movements, social reforms, spreading of diseases, increase in drug use and or its suppression, cultural developments, cultural suppressions, and many things like that, which kind of sounds like we're talking about now, right? Um,
Yeah.
but we're not talking about now. It's like the recent history we're talking about began, like, say, I guess the last time it was here, which was back in 1935 to February 1935 to January 1938, which again coincided with the Saturn Neptune opposition, and reinforced all the different archetypes. Okay, so kind of going back a bit, let's see, we have uh, 1935. President Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act, which into law, which was uniquely American because the solution to the problem was to have people put in monies from their paychecks and things like that into it. So it's not necessarily a social thing. It's more of where you're putting in your money so you're able to get it back as you get older and retire. So tax contributions. Then we had Nuremberg race laws. Unfortunately, that was one of the bad ones. See, the Roosevelt one was a good one.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of the bad ones was the Nuremberg race laws. That was in Germany when Hitler alone approved in 2 days to deprive Jews of German citizenship. So any Jew who was even a small percentage of Jewish blood was condemned a Jew. Kind of sounds
Mhm.
like the 1% or whatever it is with blacks,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds so daytime. So right now, in the UK, in the town of Jarrow, 200 unemployed men marched 282 miles. It took them 26 days to the Parliament so that they could protest against the Palmer shipyard for closing down because it put a lot of them into destitution money wise and home life and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
So
and Rhonda, you
there's
take us.
lots of other lots of other big events that happened during the same astrological period. 1936, fascism grew in Europe. Franco started the Spanish Civil War. I'm going through my notes here. Hitler was killed. Hitler was killing, rather,
Yes, I was like, yeah,
and was
that would have been
determined.
nice.
yeah, lots of madness going on there with Nazi Germany. The Luftwaffe, he also reinstituted the Luftwaffe and reintroduced conscription to the Wehrmacht, meaning he was getting ready for war. We had Himmler founded I cannot pronounce this, Lebensborn
We
eugenics to
did good.
increase
We did
Aryan
good.
birth
Yeah.
to create a pure race. There are lots of things. In the US, though, Roosevelt was dealing with the consequences of the Great Depression and the drought that caused and created the Dust Bowl. So all of that was happening. Mrs. Roosevelt was aiding the anti-lynching cause and suggested various ways the NAACP and suggested various ways the NAACP could support members of Congress to win the support of members of Congress. There were protests in Palestine in 1936, and I can go on and on. In the U.S., Alcoholics Anonymous was started, so that was a positive. We had some ways to address some ongoing and continuing issues with it culturally in the United States. We had the release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and we also had Lovecraft was turning out stories, including At the Mountains of Madness, and J.R.R. Tolkien published The Hobbit. We had a lot of cultural events that were coming
Yeah.
through as well in that same period. What about you, Star? 64 through 67.
Yeah, that was the next time that Saturn came into Pisces, right? And again, we're trying to give you a bit of perspectives as to some of the things that really changed the world that back then and into now. A lot of things affecting and vibrating all the way through to the 20th century or the 21st century. They came back in again in the 60s, 1964. Let's see, there was the Vietnam War that escalated. And there was a lot of anti-war protest. Let's see. In South Africa, there was the activist again with Nelson Mandela. He made his "I am prepared to die" speech at the trial that led to his imprisonment. Let's see. The Civil Rights Bill was passed, abolishing racial segregation in the U.S. Gee, think we need another one, right? It feels like it.
Yeah, that's
Anyways,
definitely it.
let's see. And also in the 60s, in 1964, from December 1964 to January 1965, there was the flooding in the US in the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. So
Right.
there was a lot of flood and a lot of people died at that time, unfortunately.
Devastating
Yeah.
activities.
And what about you
Um,
in 1965?
So 1965, the Voting Rights Act was passed, prohibiting racial discrimination in voting. And as you know, we already have some decimation going on with that. In 65, also, we had the Social Security Act established Medicare and Medicaid. So that was a huge support to the population.
Yeah.
65 was the Cuban refugees began to arrive in the US. The Freedom Flights began in November of that same year. 65 also showed a million people were massacred in the Indonesian genocide when the army executed communists, to stop an attempted coup. And I just have to say, as an aside, I have two very good friends who are back in Indonesia right now for a couple of months vacation. In 65, there were civil rights marches, and that was a big deal. And the race riots in the US, Black Power was on the rise, but in 65 also had Martin Luther King lead the Selma to Montgomery marches. So we had lots going on during
Yeah.
the same astrological periods. And so
Right.
now we're stepping into that same
Yeah.
energy.
And we kind of wondering, a lot of it, don't forget, each time from the 1930s and then in 1964, things like that were the impetus or the catalyst for a lot of things that were like really big things that paid out for years to come, that mattered to people
Yes.
and also took away lives.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to see some of the similar themes that, that for right now in the US and in the world, it's not just the US, but the
The
worldwide.
world.
A
Yeah.
lot of these things are going to be happening. So we kind of have to see. I mean, we don't really know entirely about, all the different things, but we can see some of the many correlations between then and now.
And now.
And which is why
Well,
you have
we
to kind of
are
think in perspectives.
We are at the top of our 45-minute show.
Yes,
Unbelievable. We're out
yes,
of
yes,
time,
yes,
but we want to clue you guys in on who is our guest for next week. So
yes,
hold on 1 second. We're just going to share with you one thing.
yes. All right, that is
You do
Raven
not
Ashley.
want to
She'll be
miss
here
that.
next week. Yes, I
And
can't
she
wait to
will
see
be
her.
performing live.
Yes, can't wait to have her here with us. Thank you.
Exciting.
All
So
right,
thank you all so much for joining us again this week from Magical Witchy World TV. We will see you
and
next Friday, and we will
at
hopefully,
10 p.m.
yes, and we will have more and get to our tarot times as well. We'll get to our tarot
Yes, we
next
hate
week.
depriving you of that, but thank you
Yes.
all very much. Have a wonderful night.
Good night, everyone.
Night. All right. How wonderful this night was. Thank you.